Yeah, man, I got to shoot a video with Dana Lin. I think it's on her YouTube channel right now. It's a pretty awesome, man. Dude, she just, honestly, for the first time, I trained with someone where I'm like, fuck, I want to stop, but I can't because I'll look like a pussy, you know?
Number 38.
All right, so here we go, episode 38. Today is a very special day.
It's your fucking birthday.
49, dude.
Can I just say you're 50?
No.
Why not?
Because 50 is going to be a big celebration for us.
But will you actually celebrate?
Yeah, I will actually for 50.
Really?
Yeah, man. I was telling, I don't know, I think I was talking to my mom yesterday, and I was like, she's like, oh, what are you doing for your birthday? And like, she's like, I said, how does it make you feel that like I'm getting closer to 50? And she's like, you know, she's 81. So, you know, I'm the youngest of 7. And, you know, every year is like I'm reminded on my birthday because I get so many messages from people, and it's like crazy that like it's the time flies and I feel as good as I felt. I like your shirt, by the way.
You do? What do you think of that shirt?
I think we should brand that thing.
Did you?
Who made that for you?
I made it for myself.
Wow.
I wore it to the Olympia in 2018.
Yeah, so that's one of our sayings. So we walk in all these places, and sometimes people get offended, you know.
Yeah. People get really mad at me. They'll be like, "Are you calling my place a dump?" I'm like, "Everywhere's a fucking dump, dude." So seriously though, it's your birthday, and you don't ever every year your birthday comes around, we're like, "We're gonna do something for your birthday," and you're like, "No, I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to do nothing." Are you going to do anything for your birthday?
Yeah, you know, I've thought about the last few years, and I mean, you know, I remember I was traveling one year, and I mean, I don't know, we'll do something. We'll celebrate. It's not just that one day, right? That's not necessarily what I'm worried about.
Every day for you is
every day.
A vacation.
Yeah, so like, you know, I can't imagine being 49 and looking back and reminiscing, because it seems like just yesterday I was, you know, starting this journey, or even in high school, like doing what I do. And you know, it's bodybuilding was like so great to me, and I always try to be like that guy that stays like looking a certain way. You know, when you're kind of viewed upon, that's the hard part about being me, is like people have this visual of what they expect, right? So when they come to the expos and they're waiting in line and they're watching everything that I do, and you know, everyone's still expecting you to have the big arms and like still have that stature, and you know, I feel tiny compared to what I used to be. And, you know, you saw me at my biggest. It's just like crazy that, you know, now it's your hero gets closer to 50, you know?
You know what I think?
I felt the same way about Arnold, you know?
Really?
Arnold, I mean, I think he just turned 75.
75.
Right?
I think it's always funny when we go to expos and I pay attention to what people's mannerisms are and how they look at you. And you'll hear people go, "Oh my God, look at how fucking big he is. He's massive." And I'm thinking like 70 pounds smaller than he was. He isn't big at all.
Yeah, the good thing is I've been able to maintain like decent arms. You know, a lot of guys like shrivel down, and you know, although I don't have the width anymore, like it's still, you know, I'm still wider than the average. And you know, don't worry, you'll get there, man. You'll get there, and
get where what?
You'll get to that age.
I've been to that age.
No, you're how many years younger you are?
What, 5, 6?
Yeah, like so. Yeah,
but you're healthy though.
No, and that's the thing, and you know, I was having this conversation because it was Derek Farnsworth a couple of days ago. It was his birthday, and you know, he actually was the one. I don't know if you knew this, but he actually kind of got me founded when I started off. So I was training at a Gold's Gym in Worcester, Mass, and of course I made progress from the age of 18. I started training, and you know, I had these really big legs, and this guy from American Sports Network, it was a show based in California called American Muscle. His name was Lou Zwick, and he used to call around to all the gyms, and he'd say, "Hey, is there any new talent? You know, is there anyone that has potential?" And it's funny because Derek's like lived a couple towns over from me, and he was like a pretty well-known local bodybuilder. And he said, "Oh, there's this kid that's supposedly really good." And I don't think he even had seen me before, but he had heard through the grapevine. Like back then, of course, it was just like word travel from gym to gym. You know, people, I don't even think like we just had launched cell phones at that point. And he's like, "There's this kid with really big legs, young kid. So the guy literally blind called the gym. He's like, hey, who is the young kid with the big legs? You know, so he started calling. He's like, listen, I want to possibly give you a sponsorship. And it got me excited, even though it was kind of bullshit. He's like, got me motivated to train. So I, Lose the Wick was, he was running these Muscle Mania shows at the time. And those were like traveling shows. So they would, have in every major city. So they had like one that was kind of near me in Rhode Island, and they would be all in California and all New York and all these other states. And next thing you know, he kind of motivated me to keep training. And, I ended up doing the teen nationals because of him. But so Derek and I were talking about this, and we were talking about, how we started bodybuilding. And I remember seeing him in the gym, and I used to go in the gym, and it was almost like he trained super hard, and I would always be more motivated. So we used local people because we only had the magazines then. We weren't seeing people on social media, which is what people use for motivation now, or YouTube or whatever else. We didn't have any of that. So you had to go by what was in front of you. And I used to watch him train, and he was super strong even back then. And he was, like I said, one of the more established local bodybuilders. And, I was saying, man, like, it's so crazy how things change, and how I got into bodybuilding with the mindset, never planning to even leave that region or even be better than beyond that region, right? You're a local champ. And he, was getting publicity in like a few books and whatever. He was on American Muscle. Like, people talked about him locally. And I was like, man, if I could just get to that level. And, but we didn't make any money doing it. He was working, I think, in prison or something, or doing something with criminal justice or something. And I was aspiring to be a criminal justice major, and working like security jobs. And I worked on a golf course, and I did all this stuff. And, my dream was to just be able to afford, through my job, my gym membership. And eventually that was given to me for free, just to compete. And then with hopes of like going to California and Lose the Wick taking me away from Massachusetts and making my dream come true and train at Gold's Gym Venice. I end up finding my own way there, and, my relationship with Ed Connors and all that stuff. But man, did I ever think I was going to make $1 doing this stuff to what I did was crazy.
Yeah. So now you're 49 now. And is there anything that you look back on throughout your career that you're like, I wish I would have done this?
Yes. I wish I would have actually learned language. Mm-hmm. Like, I was in high school, you have to take some sort of foreign language, and we took Spanish. Mm-hmm. Most people chose Spanish or French. And for me, I never realized the importance of the languages and the cultures that I traveled to. And I never took the time, to learn German or Spanish or Portuguese. I think those would be the main languages that I wish I learned, early on. I think it's not too late now, because I know people are going to comment and they're going to say, well, you can still learn it. But I did so much business in these international countries. I mean, you did also, mm-hmm. and we still do. Yeah. That it would be very, very helpful to be able to do that. I mean, I admire these people that speak, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like all these languages, right? I don't even know. There's probably way tons, more than, yeah.
You're just thinking of the main languages.
Yeah.
Is there anything like that you look back outside of that, like business wise? Is there anything like any accomplishment that you wish you would have had, or is there something where you're like, maybe I wish I wouldn't have done this or didn't do this? Or
no, I mean, when you start off and you had the vision of, like I told you, I was doing bodybuilding for fun. I never planned on making a living at it, but I was okay with that. Now today, it's kind of funny because I promote these amateur shows, and I watch people time and time again come to these events, and sometimes they don't really progress. And I'm like, why do you keep doing this? But I understand I have to kind of reset my mind a little bit, because the gym was my savior. The gym saved me, I believe, because I was at a huge crossroad, and not a lot of people know this. So my brothers, I grew up, my dad was a hard worker, and my mom and my dad separated when I was 4, and it affected me a lot. And my dad, my mom moved to Florida shortly after, and my dad, and my brothers and sisters, we all lived in one house, and my dad and I slept on bunk beds in our actually living room because we had, I had 3 brothers, 3 sisters, and we just didn't have enough bedroom space. So, which today I'm sure that no one would really approve of that, right?
Oh, you'd have some child abuse.
So, my dad worked, he was highway superintendent. My brother started a concrete business when I was around 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. And basically my after school vacations, weekends were spent going to work with them because it was almost like, okay, they were watching over me, but at the same time we were very self-sufficient. I remember even at like 8, 9 years old, we didn't really have curfews or anything like that. My dad wasn't super strict. And my brothers always used to kind of joke to me and say, this is all going to be yours someday. But I did that from 11 to 18 till I actually went to college. And I feel like I kind of went to college as kind of like a escape from having to continue to work in the family business. Yeah. Because number one, it was really hard to work with my brothers because our personalities were a lot different. But we would work 14, 15-hour days every single day. I mean, they were young enough. There was a 10 years age gap between myself and my youngest brother. And they're all a year apart. So for me, it was just like, man, I just don't want to work this hard. Like, I want to actually get out of here, especially like coming up in a different era. And people went to college. Like, none of my brothers and sisters went to college except the sister that was a year older than I was. Mm-hmm. She went to school in D.C. But for me, I just was like, okay, I can escape this by going to college. I'm not really sure what I want to do. Well, maybe I'll take up criminal justice because it seems like a lot of people are correctional officers or become police officers. So I really wasn't passionate. And I feel a lot of kids at 18 probably are in that position. But it kept me from getting stuck in the family business. And then once, I started, working out in when I was in college, next thing I knew, I was like in love with the gym, and I was working odd jobs around that to gather an income, which was a lot different because I made a lot of money in high school working in the family business because I worked so many hours. I made like $750 an hour, but you figure you're working, 70, 80 hours a week. The payments were quite a bit. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of an escape at the time. And when I was looking at bodybuilding, I thought, number one, everyone was rich based on the books. Yeah. With the fancy cars and the beautiful women and all that. And, I really didn't care if I really ever made money, which was the crazy thing. But at the same time, like, once I started to learn it, I said, wow, there's actually potential to do something in this and actually make money.
Yeah. So you're 49 now, and the industry seems to have gone in a different direction than it was. And like I said, you're healthy. And a lot of people say bodybuilding can't be done and you can't stay healthy. Like, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's like a shame on me when I say I think it can be healthy, because obviously people talk about like PEDs and whatever else, and I talk about the food. That's what I talk about more, is the amounts of food that you have to eat in order to continually grow, especially in the bodybuilding side. Yeah. But back then, we were never scared of dying. Like, I feel like today, a lot of people are kind of scared of dying. Like, they get in and they're like, oh, I don't want to get that big because I don't want to die, Yeah. Where, like, no one really was in bodybuilding and dying from, like, so-so bodybuilding. And I feel like today, people look at that different.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Because of the people that have passed?
I just think that people, they're just, there's a lot of worse information out there. I feel that, like, it was when I started, it was minimal everything. Like, I remember starving through my diets, and, bodybuilding wasn't pushed to the level that it's at. Like, the guys weren't as big, right?
Yeah.
So you actually had to really go into a deficit in order to get in great shape. I mean, and then I got late into my career, and it was like, I remember how much food I had to eat to maintain the size, and it was like, it was a problem with, I just can't eat enough. Yeah. I mean, we've seen this with pretty much everyone. I mean, you're close to Regan, he probably has trouble eating to maintain. Flex Lewis, we saw he had
eating
digestive issues. I mean,
yeah.
you look at a lot a lot of these guys, it's the food is so hard to do.
I saw Hunter Labrada's going through something where he's drinking it. I remember Dexter saying for years he just drank protein shakes.
And I don't know if that's not exciting to. And when I was bodybuilding, like, remember, shakes weren't really relevant. No. Like, it came later, but we were taught that basically you had to, stay on a 6-meal-a-day diet, and it wasn't extreme amounts of food. Like, the meat wasn't 12, 15, because I wasn't that big either. Yeah. I just think the food has become such just higher calories to be able to maintain more size that it's really affected people in a sense. Yeah. And I feel that leads to overusing compounds. We talk about, coming on and off cycles, and now, of course, everyone's kind of on like, oh, I'm cruising with, still a dosage. And I don't think that's necessarily the right thing.
Some of the guys will talk about their cruising dose, and a lot of it is as high as guys years ago took.
And, we've touched on this.
Yeah.
But like I was saying to Derek, like, we never thought about, with the risk of health, right? Because maybe we were younger too. And I think that you think, it's never going to happen to me. And now we've lost a lot of people around us, which is a huge eye opener. Yeah. But I don't think people should be scared, like steer away from bodybuilding because it's just not healthy in a sense. I mean, I think you could kind of take your own path, and there's a lot of divisions you can do now. And I think that's why, having a weight restriction with certain people, it works well. I feel. I don't think that they should constantly. I know there's talk now like, they need to boost the weight in like classic or whatever.
These guys are big.
They are big. Yeah,
they're big. Boost the weight for what?
Is it height or is it weight?
Whatever. For classic, there's a certain weight for how tall you are.
Okay,
that you can be. And like, if I remember it, I think C-Bum said he could still add like another 8 pounds to his frame, and he's already the biggest dude up there, and he can get bigger. So why would you need to up the? I don't understand that. But no, I see what you're saying. A lot of the guys now are. I mean, I know back in the day, you and Ronnie were really big, but there's a lot of guys now that are just really big.
Yeah, and I always said I got too big, but it became like a full-time job. But really, what this all circles back to is like, I loved bodybuilding because it made me feel good.
Yeah.
So if I never made $1, I still would have gone to the gym. Like today, all this branding and everything, like, yes, it revolves around me still working out because that's what people want to see me do and hear about me doing. But like, I don't necessarily get paid to go to the gym on a daily basis, and indirectly I do. But at the same time, like, I still love to train. It's still my favorite thing.
You'll still go train at midnight or 1 in the morning.
And I don't really like to miss, like, we still travel and I go to all these places because I'm still enthused about going to the gym every day. And that's really hard to do, like, in people's mind is like, how are you still so motivated to do it? And the truth is, I get into the zone when I work out, and it puts me in a good headspace. And it's a type of therapy, and it all reverts back. It's kind of funny because, when I first started, it was like to avoid working in the family business, and it made me relieve a lot of that stress. And then it became a career, and it became a job, and now it's reverted back to being a stress reliever and doing it for fun and doing it on my terms and eating certain foods on certain days that I, do or don't want to eat. But I always said, like, for 50, that's going to be the difference. I'm going to do that crazy transformation. And I said it's either going to take 6, 8, or 10 months to be my absolute best. For 50, I want to be in great condition. I want to be.
So what would be the best for you? You want to get leaner than you've ever been?
I want to get leaner, and I want to get fuller. So I mean, listen, I'm in all seriousness, I look at Mike O'Hearn and I'm like, damn, that guy's impressive for.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 50. What is he now? 3 or
50, I think so. I always think it's funny when people, they get so upset about if he's natural or not. And it's like, why do you give a shit? Look how he looks. Yeah. Whatever he's doing, I want to do it.
Yeah, and like, he consistently looks that way. Look at Simeon Panda. I mean, they always say, like, his genetic, like, he looks great all the time too.
And we've traveled with Mike around the world, and I honestly think he stays on a more regimented diet than anyone I've ever seen in my life.
We went to Dubai, and if you remember, I flew. We kind of met up in the airport, and we were like already in some foreign territory. And dude, he was eating cream of rice out of a Tupperware container. I'm like, where did you get? He's like, oh, well, she packed it. Mona packed it.
He had like 10 meals with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, like, here I am, like one of the most decorated bodybuilders, like, of our era, right? And he's still doing more than me.
Yeah. I mean, look, his strength is still there. He looks the same. He hasn't changed. And I remember, I forgot where we were going, but their flight got canceled and they got stuck in Detroit for like 6 or 8 hours. And I remember Mona like I got to figure out how to get Mike food because his food's going to run out and he's not going to have food because his alarm goes off every 3 hours. And as soon as it goes off, he eats. And that's dedication.
What I love about that is, like, I sit there and preach over and over is the nutrition aspect. And, you know, today meal prep has kind of taken, you know, we obviously we work with Trifecta and, you know, they provide meals, right? I mean, a lot of us do a la carte, but man, we didn't have that. And Mike's old school like that, where I think he works with Icon. Yeah, but I'm sure she still preps the food based on, okay, we're going to travel and we need to have this much protein versus carbohydrates, fats, whatever. But it's so precise. Yep. And that's really what keeps bodies on top. And it also helps with the mental capacity. And I remember when I taped that diet that Chris Aceto wrote me back in 1993, 92, 93. I taped that 6 meals a day on my refrigerator, and I followed that sucker to a T, bro. And when I said to a T, like, I didn't reverse meal 4 and 6, and like it was to a T 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I never changed the order of the food. So it was like egg whites and oatmeal for breakfast. Meal 2 was chicken and rice. Meal 3, steak and potato. Like, it was on point every single day. And my mom would go to the PX because my stepfather was in the military then. She moved back to Massachusetts, and she would actually help me get the food. And I would prep that food. You know, I made a little kitchen downstairs in my dad's basement, you know, until I moved out at, like, I think 19. But I would prep that food, and I would just eat to a T every single day. I never missed. And to this day, I use that term, like, I don't miss, because, like, I'm dedicated with the food to a certain extent, but I still admire the people that are, like, traveling with that cold ass food.
Yeah. Do you think some of the guys now don't maybe stay as regimented because maybe there's all these new different condiments
techniques
out,
well,
and there's
dude,
sugar-free things?
Yeah, but people are like, oh, I'm going to take a cheat meal, or, like, cheat meals didn't exist. Like,
yeah,
that's the crazy thing. Like, we didn't have, I guess you'd have a day possibly that people would say, oh, I remember I'd order a pizza like every Sunday or something just to do it. But, like, now everyone's like, well, I need a high calorie day or whatever. And they just eat like burgers and fries. And there's just so many, like, there's Chick-fil-A. I know people talk about that. Like, when I say I never had a Kentucky Fried Chicken, never had Taco Bell, never had Chick-fil-A, I mean, how boring is that? But that's the truth.
You are boring.
I know. I mean, I've never had these things, and people say, why? I said, because I'm afraid I'll like them.
You know what? When we go to Cheesecake Factory, you get chicken and rice there too. It's like, what's wrong with you, man?
They make plain so anyone that goes to Cheesecake Factory, you can get white rice and you can get grilled chicken breast. They will make it for you. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's just what it is. I mean, not to say, dude, you know, I'll have my cheesecake, or you've seen me eat bad stuff. I mean, we went to eat the other day, and I had a burger and fries from Skinny Fats.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, one of the good. That's a good thing, you know. In Vegas, we have so many restaurants.
So do you think that the guys nowadays, guys and women too, where there's so many different food choices out there that weren't there when you were competing?
Yes.
You didn't have 20 different flavors of sugar-free barbecue sauce and sugar-free this and this and this. And like, do you think that matters?
I don't know if the condiments, because I don't know what people put on their food. But listen, bro, like, you overeat.
I know I do.
Like, I've gone through that overeating portion. I'm not saying like bodybuilding is healthy. It can be healthy, but I didn't always do it healthy.
Yeah.
I did it, I feel, smarter than some people. But at the same time, like, there's no question I overtook drugs and I overate food. And I told you, I got way bigger than I wanted to be. But there is a healthy way to bodybuild, meaning, like, you don't have to be on stage competing at the highest level, right?
Of course.
And if you are at the highest level, can you do it safely? I think you can. I think you can, but you may not be first at the Open Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
I can't speak on the classic, men's physique, bikini. Like, I'm not in those divisions. I don't know what these people do. You might know better than me, but like you don't know. Like, you're not inside people. I mean, we talk about people, oh, is he natural or not? Like you said, who really cares? But at the same time, he fucking looks good, right?
Yeah. I mean, if he's whatever he is, there's a lot of people out there that are not natural that don't look as good as him. So whatever he's doing, it's working. So
I mean, there's so many athletes that just, I mean,
some people, you know what it comes down to, and I've always said this, some people are just genetically better than others. And
look at Shannon Sharp, bro.
He's what, 54?
Unbelievable.
He's shredded. But he's also a trifecta athlete.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp is on. He eats the same thing every day. You know, he'll eat egg whites.
He works out.
He works out twice a day. He eats egg whites and fruit and this, and he gets food delivered, and he eats the same thing every day, and he works out every day. And
see,
that's why he looks
I
like
admire those people. So when you ask, like, who's a positive influence on me, I mentioned all these. I mean, I follow it all. I mean, am I impressed with the strength athletes as much? Like, if a guy can bench a lot, yeah. I mean, if he's an athlete, shit. I mean,
it's a crazy
this guy
feat.
Chubbs that is the running back for the Browns. Like, he was like, he squats like almost 700 or something.
It's insane.
It's crazy. Like, he's a running back.
Yeah.
Like, in the National Football League, like, he's just like super strong. You can tell. I mean, he's built too, but I mean, all
on
these
a
guys.
totally different tip, since we're talking about athletes, Bill Russell passed away yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you're a Celtics guy, so what is that? What did that?
Yeah, it's sad, man. I mean, he's the man. I mean, he was.
Yeah. He's the greatest winner in American sports history, not even sports history, period.
Yeah. Every NBA Finals, he's there and giving out the trophy. And
yep, at 88. Yeah, you know, it's crazy when you really research him and you see what he went through too. And I always said this, like, he paved the way for the game today.
Yeah.
And not even that, even with the civil rights stuff, and when Muhammad Ali wasn't going to go fight because he said nobody in Vietnam ever harmed me, and you know, him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Martin Luther King and all them went and had their, I think it was in Cleveland, they had that sit down. But yeah, he paved the way, and at the end of the day, I mean, 11 titles.
Huge figurehead. I mean, that's the thing, is like, we only see what's here today, and we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, people still talk about like Jordan, but you know, can you imagine LeBron's legacy when he's finished? I mean,
there's certain people that are going to have a legacy forever.
I mean, Larry Bird is respected, obviously. Robert Parrish,
but they're not Bill Russell.
Yeah,
no. Same thing when you look at the Lakers. You know, Kobe's going to have that, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is going to always have that too. Magic's always going to have. There's certain people, but Bill Russell's always going to be. He's always going to be in that top echelon of name recognition. Maybe not statistically, because I mean, he won a lot of titles back then, but he had superior teams, and there wasn't as many teams back then. And I know you'll hear people joke and go, guys were way smaller back then when they played. No, the average guy.
He was a big dude.
The average center was 6'10" and a half. Yeah. They're an inch taller now, 50 years later. You know, I mean, he went against Wilt Chamberlain, who's probably one of the greatest physical specimens ever to play the sport. So I think it was just seeing that he passed. We all knew it was going to come before long, because he's been, I mean, I remember seeing him when I was a kid, seeing him on TV, and he was old then. So 88 years old. But yeah, I just figured I'd bring that up just because you're a Celtics guy, and he was the Celtic. You know?
Yeah, and the Celtics had a phenomenal season last year, and
you
know, they made it all the way, and obviously didn't achieve what they could have set out to do. But
no, I don't know. I haven't.
You know, growing up, I used to wear all my Celtics gear. Like, I had the shorts, and I had the Larry Bird, you know, jersey and all that. And
I don't see you wearing Celtics stuff anymore.
Yeah, no, I have stuff. I have my greens. I pulled them out a little bit when they were in the playoffs and whatever. But it's really hard being on the West Coast and being a Celtics fan, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of like being a Patriots. Like, if I'm not necessarily a Patriots fan, but I mean, I was a Tom Brady fan. How can you not be a fan of him? But like, if I tell people here, especially the Raiders, like now are like the thing out here, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to be a West Coast guy and be an East Coast fan.
You know, when I was younger, I was more of a fan of teams. But as you get older, I just like seeing greatness. So I like watching certain players play, because they bring a level of greatness. It's that like the Russell Westbrook and the LeBron and the Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee, the guys that just, they put on a show and they give it their all. And just watching it, same thing in sport. You know, who doesn't want to see Tom Brady play? What is he, 44 and he's still smoking?
45. 45. Same birthday as me, bro.
Wow. When did you get to send him a birthday card?
Yeah. Oh, shout out to also Celsius. I want to say thank you, Celsius, because obviously they sponsor our channel, but at the same time, huge day for Celsius a couple of days ago.
Yeah, they signed, from what I understand, they signed a distribution deal with Pepsi.
Yeah, PepsiCo.
Which
invested $500 million to their
which means you're going to see
distribution
it everywhere.
And I'm drinking this cola, which I think I've talked about before.
Yeah.
This is a flavor I never knew existed. And you're like, oh, I'm drinking this cola. I'm like, wait a minute. They have like a cola. Send that shit to me. Because at first they only sent like a couple flavors.
Yeah.
And I wish you guys could see the stack we have over here, but
it's like a brick wall.
we want to thank also you guys. If you haven't tried a Celsius, you can grab it anywhere, really.
Well, especially now.
Yeah. So make sure you guys grab it. But if you're a fan of any cola flavors, which I think a lot of people who drink pop, make sure you guys try the Celsius.
You called it pop. That's like a Midwest thing.
And well, people call it pop, soda, whatever, you know, but. Man, we live for our Celsius. Not everyone that walks in here.
I know. We come in here and everyone walks in. I'm like, man, what the case goes out this way? 4 cans. The mail guy comes through and he grabs a couple. They're like, hey, all right. Well.
And Celsius has been a big player, man. We just came back from American Fit Expo and they had a big booth sponsor there. And so shout out to Malik and the crew over there. We were there. Was it 2 weeks ago now, or
was it last? No, not last weekend. The weekend before.
Okay, and you know, it was good to get back because we had 2-year hiatus.
No, it was last weekend.
Okay,
now, what am I thinking? God, no. I'm like,
well, no, not this past weekend because I did my charity camp. I'll talk about that in a minute. But it was the weekend before. So, so Houston American Fit Expo was awesome. Like we had a great reception there. The fans came out in abundance. You know, a lot of the top players were there.
Yeah, that was it would have been the 7th one if we didn't have the 2-year break, but that was the 5th one. And the first one was in 2016 at that small little Marriott in the Woodlands.
The Woodlands, yeah.
And it's just cool to see it grow. And obviously there wasn't one for 2 years because of COVID. And now this is our first one back. And there's a lot of the big names were there, from you to Dana Lin to Big Boy to Regan.
Yeah, man, I got to shoot a video with Dana Lin. I think it's on her YouTube channel right now. It's a pretty awesome, man. Dude, she just, honestly, like, I'm motivated, but she actually fucking trains.
Yes, she does.
You guys got to see this, watch this video, because she just, like, she wanted to keep going. And I'm like, remember, I think I trained fasted, and I got in late Friday.
You train in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah, so I did the expo all day Saturday, and I was there way longer than what planned. Yes. They were like shut down, and I was still lining people up. And I think we just chilled on Saturday night, and then we got up super early on Sunday, and we went to a local gym who took great care of us. And we were able to film, and you know, her film guy was great too, by the way. He did a great job. He just kind of captured. But man, she kept going, man. We did chest and triceps, and like, dude, she kept like. So I was shocked. Like, she grabbed the 60s on the flat, and you know, you train with me all the time, so I usually go 70, and I maximum go to 80, 85. I could go higher, but I don't go over. I do everything 12 reps. And she grabbed the 60s, bro, and she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do 10," and I'm like, "What?" And I'm watching her chest, you know, and it's kind of crazy to train with a girl because, you know, she wears like basically you can show her whole physique. And like she was going, and it's like set after set. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. And she's like, well, let's do one more exercise. I'm like, really? So what does she do in Montana? Like just train?
She trains, man. Like, you know, it's funny.
And this is another one, okay, that looks the part all the time.
Yes. Everybody would always say, she's on drugs, she's on drugs. She doesn't look any different now than she did when she competed. She's not as shredded, but some people, that's just how they are. You know, she's not as big as she was because she only eats twice a day now. She used to eat 6-7 times.
But it's crazy that she can train like she did, and then we did tries and whatever, and she like, I mean, dude, she grabbed I mean, she put 25s on each side of the bar, and like she was doing skull crushers, and I'm like, damn, like we do
39.
25 and 10.
Yeah. So just think of it like this: a couple stories. One, I had her train with Regan at Gold's Gym, and this was during the LA Fit Expo. They went through a full back workout where Regan was done, and at the very end, Rob's like, "All right," and she's like, "Well, I'm going to go train back with Rob now too." So
No way.
Yes. So she went and filmed with Regan, filmed everything, trained it, and then went and did back again. Now, coming into this American Fitness Expo, Rob didn't come with. And this is, he was recording an album.
I know what you're going to tell me right now. Yeah.
She said to me, I'm going to come, but I'm coming to film and I want to train with people. So, and she gave me a list of people she wanted. And the one day she trained in the morning with Kristen Nunn at Hunter Labrada's gym.
She's impressive too, by the way.
She is absolutely. Then she drove to Alpha Land, trained with Hani. She did legs with Kristen, trained shoulders with Hani, came back, ate, and then we went back to Hunter's gym and she trained legs again with Yarishna and kept up with her. So she trained 3 times in one day. I'm like, how are you? Like at the very end of these sets, like they got 6 plates on the leg press and Yarishna's and Dana's doing it with her. So 3 times in one day, and then she went to sleep, woke up, and trained with you. So 4 times in a less than 24 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
yeah, she was like, I was like, for the first time, I trained with someone where I'm like, fuck, I want to stop, but I can't because I'll look like a pussy, you know?
I'll send this to her.
She'll love this because I'm like, damn, like we're doing another. But luckily for triceps, it was like 2 movements.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, thank God, because like I just wanted to get back to the hotel and have food because I knew it was going to be a lengthy day. And by the way, Sunday, I stayed and they were tearing booths down and I was still doing meet and greet there. Yeah. So I want to thank everyone because they waited a long time. It was
hour and a half each night.
It was a 3-hour wait for a lot of people. And it was a great experience. And I know the expos are a little different. I would honestly say like they're crazy busy for me, but I think the attendance is still a little down. I think people are still a little conscious about coming out. I think the economy affects people. I know right now we're going through somewhat of people are a little conscious about how they're spending funds, but you know, I encourage anyone to come out if there's an opportunity to look for motivation. I ask everyone, like that's the one thing, and people will love this because they know what I ask. Why did you come to this? And a lot of it is for motivation. They're facing challenges, and they're like, I just wanted to get out. A lot of people drove far, you know, 5 hours, 3 hours. So it was a huge success. We have a lot of other stuff coming up, expos. But,
I was going to say, what do you have going on? What's next weekend for you?
The next one, I'm off this coming weekend. I'm probably going to take a few days and do something for my birthday just to get away. I want to go to the zoo, so we're talking about maybe going to San Diego to the zoo. I love going to the zoo. It's like the 3rd time I go.
I think I have like 2 free passes in my email somewhere.
Really?
The Fit Expo bought me for the San Diego Fit Expo like 3 years ago for my birthday, and I'm like, we got you some tickets to go to the zoo for your birthday. I'm like, when the hell am I going to have time? I got this event the whole weekend.
I love going to the zoo. So the next thing is the J. Cutler Classic, Virginia. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have the show out there. I'm putting that on. That is in Richmond. It's on the 13th of August. The 20th, I'm at Goliath Nutrition. It's in Lincoln, Nebraska. I have a meet and greet there. And then the 27th, I'm doing the Tracy Ironworks. It's in Tracy, California, the Ironworks gym. So I'm going to fly in and fly out for that. It's outside. Like I think I fly to Fresno
or Sacramento, one of those.
I think Fresno. So, and then, you know, we roll into September, which, you know, we are talking about the Arnold UK, but we have a lot of bodybuilding shows coming up that we want to cover. We do plan to bring in Milos to do the wrap up of
probably after Tampa. Tampa's this weekend, right?
Yeah, Tampa's
this weekend.
Yes, you're right.
And next weekend is Texas.
Yes,
so maybe after Texas we'll have.
I mean, I'm seeing like Andrew Jack's doing Texas. I know Steve Kuklow's doing it. I know that, you know, there's some other faces that are probably popping in there too. So we're gonna have some.
There's a lot of shows.
Who's doing Tampa? Do we know or?
I know Kamal's.
Oh, that's right, Kamal. So Kamal
out of 212, he's doing the open.
He was the 212 former Mr. Olympia.
Yep. And he gets stupid shredded.
He's around 225, I heard, and he's ready to compete. And he's going to actually do the open for the first time on the U.S. territory. He lives in Tampa, so he's going to do the Tampa Pro. It should be pretty exciting to see that. And what do you think about all these 212 guys going to open? I mean, I think we're going to see Lunsford, by the way. If you guys want to ask my opinion, I think Lunsford's going to do open.
He should. He
was big. I mean, you saw him in Houston, right?
He was in Houston with us, and I had breakfast with him each morning, and he's big as a house.
Hani, don't get mad at me for that, but I think he should.
I'm not saying whatever him and Hani decide is what they decide, but I know I might get flamed for this, but I think he'd be in the first call out.
I know, but what does that do? What does that do for the aura of the 212 title when you have a Chupin, you have a William Bonnick, you have Lunsford if he leaves and does open, and you have now Kamal, you have Sean Clarita.
Sean Clarita won a show.
Yes, so he's qualified for both.
Yep.
What does that do?
I mean, look, there's certain people that are always going to be in that range.
And listen, Flex was going to go to open.
Flex was going to go to open. There's certain people that they're going to be good around that range, and there's certain people that are that big, and as they progress, they just outgrow it. And that's just no different if you're amateur and you just keep getting bigger and bigger.
You know what's crazy is everyone seems that did the 212. We always hear they look their best at around 225. You notice that?
Because they got to pull muscle.
I heard it about Flex. Kamal's in that situation right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Clarita because he's probably under the 212 weight because of his height, right?
Yeah, he's like right around 190.
Okay. But all these guys, I mean, Lunsford's, I mean, he's got to be bigger. He's got to be bigger than 225.
He stood on the scale at the guy that came up to you, and he was like 257 or something like that. And he's not.
I wonder what Bonnick weighs on stage. Have we ever known what his weight is?
I'm guessing 230s.
I mean, he's a lot bigger than when he used to be doing the 212.
I'm guessing. But look, if let's I'm going to make this up. Let's say they move the weight from 212 to 220. Well, then what's going to happen is guys are going to look crazy at 230, and they're going to suck down and make that weight because there's a lot of people that maybe the guys that are 230 in the open would pull down. But I mean, look, you're always going to have certain people that need to outgrow it. Like Flex did it for 7 years, and I'm assuming he pulled a lot of muscle off, but he chose to do that. Where William, he couldn't have stayed in the 212. He just couldn't. Look at how big he is now. I mean, Derek, I don't think can stay there. I mean, that's just my opinion. I didn't ask him anything.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be a super competitive. This Olympia dude is going to be, and listen, I'm going to talk about something.
I know what you're going to say because I was going to bring it up.
Okay. Michal Krizo.
Yes. So you saw him in person.
He's the real deal, okay? So I'm going to go on record right now and tell you guys, if this guy wins his pro card in the IFBB Pro League,
yes,
because he's still an amateur.
He's an amateur.
So he's going to do the amateur Prague,
and then hopefully do the pro the next day.
Okay, I feel he can win the amateur, he can win the pro, and he can get instant qualification for this year's Mr. Olympia. Okay. He's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
Okay, he is 100% legit. And I know people are going to say, well, his back is not that bad. I mean, he's got a great package. Dude, he's got the size, he's got the width, and that's where he can be very dangerous for a lot of these
people.
Seems
very round.
Yes, but he's got the width. He's wide. And I think, with some improvements, everything is there in his condition. I mean, you see the most muscular is crazy, but that doesn't tell the whole story. But the arms are huge, the delts. I mean, he's got it all. The legs. I mean, he's got a good physique. If he can put it together and get the qualification and get the pro status, I mean, he's going to be a big problem, man. He is for real. So
this year, hypothetically, we could have 2 or 3 guys stepping up there. If a Derek goes up, who's never been there, if an Andrew Jack makes it, and if this Krizo guy can turn pro and make it, we could have a new blood really.
And with Walker and Hunter, who both kind of sat on the sidelines to compete solely for the Olympia. I've done that before, and I've improved. I think Hunter's going to be much improved. I think Walker will be improved. Mm-hmm. I see Ian, if he can get some more detail, I see him. He's definitely made improvements. Bonnick, obviously, he had, he had some surgery and whatever. He's going to, he's a front runner. Yeah. You still got Brandon, who's a full force. You got Hadi Chupin that gosh knows what he's doing. And, of course, Big Ramy, who's the champ. Dude, this top 10 is going to be sick.
And Samson.
Samson, but
he's 320.
I mean,
right now.
you got Charles Griffin, you got
There's
many
a lot of
guys that are in great condition. This may be,
and I know people are going to say, just because I manage him, Regan's 296 pounds right now, and he's still lean. He's never been this big in his life, so he's putting the weight on.
But there's a hell of a lineup for this Olympia, and I'm only talking about the open.
And we're not even talking about Sergio. We're not talking about Kuklo. We're not talking about. I mean, Moshe Ban qualified.
I saw him in Venice too when I was out there.
Rafael from Brazil.
Yeah, he's there.
Nathan Diasha. He hasn't been on the Olympia stage.
Yeah, we forget about Nathan because he hasn't been over in the States competing.
And he'll be at the Olympia this year.
So that's a name that I'm totally leaving out that was top 6 before, right?
He was top seven, his first 2,
So, I mean, you can't count these people. Can you imagine this lineup, bro? It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be an interesting...
and if this Krizo guy can get in the mix, bro, I'm telling you, he's the real deal. So I'm excited. It's going to be one of the most competitive Olympias in years, and it's back in Vegas, which is actually better. So.
And I actually, this last week, the Olympia crew is out here, and I went and got to, go see.
Tell me about the theater a little bit.
I went to I've never been in that theater before.
Yeah, I went for the Miss America contest.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable the way it's set up. Like, it's going to be, in my opinion, the best setup you could ever have for a bodybuilding show. It's going to be.
Is it limited seating?
I want to say
5,000 or 3,000?
Under 7,000 because they have a second balcony. So I think it's somewhere.
I want to say
5,000.
I want to say 5,000.
I think it was 5,000 on the bottom, and if they open it up, it can go higher. But so I got to see that, which is pretty cool. And then this next weekend, I'm here this weekend, and then next weekend I'm going to go to Colorado for Brian Shaw Classic, which he's got 37 competitors this time. He's got all the top guys in the world, even more than what the World's Strongest Man had. So I'm looking forward to that. It's in the Pepsi. I think it's in the Pepsi Center in Denver.
I just commented on his Trifecta post this morning, and he mentioned something about Trifecta being a sponsor for it, and I said good luck. And
they're his main sponsor for this event, and Trifecta and Rogue. I think Trifecta and Rogue, and he's giving away some stuff, and he just wanted to do something to give back. So I'm looking forward to that. It's always fun getting around him because he's.
What's the date on that?
It's with the 12th, I think. The same day.
Can you attend that event? Or?
Yeah. Okay. I think it's 3,000 seating, and they stream it live, and it's just a cool event because Brian and his family are such good people too, and you see how hard they work, and his kids are, I remember the first time I saw his kids, they were real timid, and now they see me, and now we're friends.
Excited,
So it's nice getting to see, Brian and Carrie and their kids, and his whole family's there, and it's a good event. So I'll go up probably Friday afternoon and stay there Friday, Saturday, and come home Sunday. Yeah. So we look forward to that. But
well, good, man. Well, listen, we're gonna wrap it up. I want to shout out to once again Celsius, and thank you guys for all your loyal support with the podcast. We're getting up there, and we're getting closer to the big 40 and episodes.
Catch your age,
yeah. And we do have some cool stuff coming up. Make sure you guys check out some of the merch on Jay Cutler Shop. We have a couple items available here. We have the bobblehead, still a few left. And, of course, the signature T-shirt. And we'll be looking forward to the next episode and with the news of the bodybuilding. We want to shout out to our USA champion because he's actually going to do Tampa. Did you know that? Yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the USA's, we had a lot of people we knew competing in that. And,
I didn't know a whole lot of people competing this time around. So it was different. It was on the strip this time for the first time, and usually it was at UNLV. So it was nice. Shout out to Tamer and Tarek, always taking care of us, and went over there and supported their event like we always do. And just, you get to see everybody, all the main Steve.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that now, you can qualify, and there's so many pro shows that you can jump right in. This wasn't the case back in the era.
You know when Derek Lunsford won?
That's right.
He did Tampa and he won the 212.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. He turned pro, qualified, and then got second or third in his first Olympia behind Flex 2018.
Yeah.
I remember that because he was smaller and he built his way up, and then I think he won the light heavies or heavies. He won the overall and then went to Tampa. Yeah. Boom, won the 212 right out the gate, and it's been history since.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, until episode 39 will be next.
Shout out to everyone. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. Make sure you guys definitely comment and tell me what you guys think about. We covered a lot of topics with professional bodybuilding, Who's coming to Olympia? That's a big question.
Yeah, and then you got also say happy birthday to Jay.
Yeah, happy birthday. If you can you see the hat over? I don't know if we can see the hat, but
Watch this.
yeah, maybe we can show. When I walked in the office this morning, we had Taylor, who's yeah. There's the hat right there. There's our Celsius fridge. Happy birthday, Jay. Shout out for episode 38. We're out. Thank you, guys.